Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm a short, overweight, middle-aged white dude. I've got thinning brown hair, black glasses, I'm wearing a grey t-shirt, and I'm sitting in my office with a few coloured lights behind me. And in this video, we're going to be having a look at this, the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra, which is kind of like the top-of-the-line flip phone from Motorola. Now, I was really excited to see how this works because I think the last flip phone I had was also a Motorola Razr, but that was like 20 or more years ago with the original Motorola Razr flip phone. So I was really keen to see how a modern smartphone worked as a flip phone. Spoiler alert, lots of things to like about this. But let's get through just a couple of the basic specs and then we'll get into the cool sort of foldy bits about the phone. So it is a Snapdragon 8 Generation 3 processor, which is pretty zippy. I'm led to believe it's got 12 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of internal storage, which I think is plenty. To give you an idea, I do a lot of photos and videos, so I'm always running out of space on my phones, and most of my phones have got like 1 terabyte of storage. But my wife, who also does lots of photos and stuff, she's more of a everyday sort of person using the phone, and she's only using about 150, 160 gigs worth of storage on her phone. So I think 512, plenty for that kind of stuff. It's got a 6.9 OLED screen on the inside when it is completely unfolded, and that's got a refresh rate of 166 Hertz. And it then has the big sort of exciting bit, which we'll get onto in a bit, is the 4-inch screen on the outside, which is also OLED, also has a refresh rate of 166 Hertz. And what that refresh rate means is that when you're scrolling through things like this, it doesn't sort of get laggy and jaggy and that kind of thing. So it lets you really get through stuff really quickly. A really clever thing that it does is that it will lower that refresh rate all the way down to 1 Hertz, and it'll do it automatically if you're not looking at something that requires that really, you know, expansive, fast refresh rate. It comes with a charging brick in the box, which I appreciate. It's got fast USB charging on the bottom here. Also has got wireless charging off of the back here. And while we're on the back, you can see that it's got like a sort of faux leather kind of textured cover on the back. And I really like this because it's sticky in the hand. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going to slide out like the sort of more glass-based sort of back phones have got. Comes in 4 colors. This is the more grown-up blue, sort of navy blue color, and then you've got like a green and orange and a really hot pink. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't send me one of the more exciting colors, but I'll take the grown-up color. It's fine. By the way, this was sent to me by Motorola, and I do have to send it back, so I don't get to keep it. And spoiler alert, I'm a little disappointed about that. Anywho, it's got a 4,000 milliamp battery in it, so battery life has been fine. I've been using it for a couple of weeks now, and it gets me through an entire day and then maybe half a day afterwards. So I've found the battery life to be absolutely no issues whatsoever. Now let's get into the cool foldy bits. And so you can see there that I do struggle a little bit to unfold it with one hand. I can do it, but it's not pretty. There's something so satisfying about doing this. It's almost like we're back in the day where if you want to hang up on someone and like slam down the phone, well, I don't agree with you. I do like that. Don't be too violent with it, of course. But where this really shines for me is when it is actually folded, and having this big screen that, as you can see, covers the entire area of the screen really is a huge selling point. Why that is for me, oh, one last thing with the specs, there is a fingerprint scanner on the side on the sleep and wake button, so that is a fingerprint scanner as well, and it works upside down, so when you're on the screen here and also when you're on the screen really big, it works to unlock the phone or put the phone to sleep. So where I really like this is in this sort of setting, because it sits in your pocket nice and easy, and then when you pull it out, being able to do stuff on the screen, the fact that the screen is so small makes it really easy to do things one-handed. And you can see that there's actually quite a lot of features and panels that you can have up on the screen. So this is like your main sort of home panel, gives you your date, your time, gives you battery life, and you've got the camera, you've got chat, you've got, so if, you know, I can go to Messenger here, goes into photos, also got Gemini, and then I can go to photos and I can just scroll through my photos, but then I can also select one of my photos and then I can sort of flick through them. And it's very, very easy to do things one-handed and get in and out of things. There are sort of 3 settings down here on the bottom, and you notice that it goes around the camera bumps. The cameras, by the way, are 2 50 megapixel cameras. So you've got a telephoto and you've got a standard 50 megapixel, and you've got a selfie camera on the inside. I'll get into some of the photo stuff in a little bit. But if you don't like it taking up the whole screen, you can tap on this button here and select default view, and then it doesn't take up the whole screen, and it gives you sort of like a black area and a couple of buttons and your shortcuts and your notifications down there in that area there. But then if you want to go back to it, you just tap again and you can go full screen, or you can go to home. So that's sort of like your home screen. Then you've got an app screen, so you can actually run full apps in here. Some apps run better than others. So for example, if I went into Flight Radar, you can see there that within Flight Radar, it's okay, but it's kind of, you know, being on such a small screen does make it a little bit of a challenge to kind of see what's going on there, but it's still absolutely usable. And you can add pretty much any app that you've got on you. So to add an app, you just tap on the little pencil icon here in the top right hand corner, and that shows you what apps are available, and then you can just tap on the app to select it, and then that app will then show up in your list of apps that are available. While we're in here, I want to show you the cool thing about this with the camera. Two cool things about the camera. So number one, there's some really nice Motorola features that they've got in here. Now this is running Android 14. I don't think Motorola have said how many updates this will get. I think they either said 3 updates or 4 updates. They haven't said, so I'm gonna check. I'll put down here in the bottom if they have said. But like for example, I've reviewed the Motorola Neos, and those had 5 guaranteed years of updates. I'm not sure how many of these have got. But a cool feature of the Motorola. So first of all, the cool thing is that if you shake the phone, it turns on the flashlight, and that's really handy. You could smack yourself in the face, but that's really handy. But the thing that I really love, and in fact, I saw an example this morning of why I really love this, is you wiggle the phone and it turns on the camera. Now, I've got multiple cameras set up as this, and I can select different camera apps to go, but I'm just going to go, yeah, always just go into the normal camera app. And this is where I get really excited about this, because this is now using the main 50 megapixel camera, and I can preview what is happening on the screen. So that is a really great thing. This is why I would very rarely use the selfie camera, because I can just use this camera to take selfies, and you've got the usual things, you know, you hold your hand up and it'll take a photo. And you can also just tap the screen to take a photo. Be careful that your hand is not over the camera. My son did that a few times, but this is a really, really cool function. And you've got, you know, you can put in little effects. You can, you know, let's just go back to the original. You can select, you know, toning, you can smooth these out. You've got loads of little things in here that you can do with the camera. And if you tap on that, you've got all these other settings that you can set with the camera. So it's really, you know, it's not gimmicky, I think, is really the selling point for me on this. It's actually functional. Something interesting about the sort of foldability is that in sort of like the product marketing stuff that I've seen, they showed how you can fold it, you know, sort of half like that, or, you know, out completely, or half like that. Now, half like this I can see handy when you're using the camera and you've got the control and so on. I could see how someone might come up with sort of some sort of clever game. But a cool feature of this is you can actually have, and I think this is either a Motorola thing or an Android thing. Again, I'm not a full-time Android user, so correct me if I'm wrong, where you can have 2 apps open at the same time. So for example, if I've got my Google Docs open here, I don't want to have that. It has the word embargo in it. You don't want to have that. But yeah, so if you just sort of slide your finger from side to side, you can then select a second app to have open at the same time. So I could have, let's say, so I could have Spotify open while I'm working on my notes, and I could have half and half there. So I've got Spotify down there at the bottom, and then I've got my notes working up here at the top. I'm not sure how often I would use that feature, but the fact that you can do this on a phone, that's pretty darn cool. I mean, it's useful on an iPad because it's, you know, a bigger screen and so on, but being able to do it on a phone is really nice. In terms of gaming, I'm not a huge gamer, but as you can see, I'm playing some games and it works just fine. There's no lag. It's a pretty grunty phone, so I don't think you're going to have any issues when it comes to using some stuff in games. As for watching video on the screen, it's a really nice, clear, bright screen. You've got HDR. If you zoom in, you get that full screen experience. Of course, you do lose a little bit on the top and the bottom because it's cropping. Or if you pull it in, then, you know, you lose a little bit on the bars on the side. A thing that I really like, again, with the whole Foldy bit, is that when you come out, you can continue watching your video on the external screen. You've got the controls if you want them. And I find that the screen on the outside is, you know, just as bright and just as clear as the screen on the inside. I will point out that I'm showing off a little bit because this is some of the nature footage that I've taken over the years and some of the locations where I've shot stuff. So I've spoken quite a lot about the inside and the outside screen. I do want to mention that when you've got the outside screen open, it is pretty large. So here is my iPhone 16 Pro next to the phone when it's completely folded out, and you can see it's significantly larger in terms of the screen. So you really do get this lovely big screen. So you can see the crease sometimes if you hold it at a particular light, but it's really not a big issue. And when you move your hand over the crease, you do feel it, but really, it's really not a big deal, and I hardly really notice it. And in terms of the advantages that you get from being able to fold the phone and sort of set it up like that, I'm more than happy to deal with the little bit of the crease kind of doing a little bit of a thing there. Let's talk in more detail about the cameras on the phone. So you've got the 50 megapixel standard one, you've got the 50 megapixel telephoto. I found the cameras to be really, really good. It would have been nice to have an ultra wide as well, but I think 3 cameras probably would have bumped the price up a little bit and, you know, would have added complications. So I understand they sort of had to pick one. Interestingly enough, I've actually got its little brother here. This is the Motorola Razr 50, which is sort of like the entry-level model, and that has the same standard 50 megapixel, but it does have the ultra-wide and it doesn't have the telephoto. And I guess they sort of had to choose one. Up to you whether they chose the right one or not. I'm not that fussed either way. We went up to Bendigo last week for the long weekend here in Victoria, and here are some photos that I took, and I'll play them big on the screen. I found the camera to be really, really good. We were down in the mine. By the way, if you're going to go into Bendigo and you haven't been down the mine for like the tourist attraction, highly recommended. Really, really great experience. So in terms of low light, it did fine. Video, it takes 4K up to 60 frames per second. Handy that it's 60 frames because you can then slow it down by 50% to get that little bit of slow-mo. I thought it took really great photos, nice and sharp, nice and clear. I do find that Android cameras tend to give a little bit more contrast than iPhone, which is what I'm used to, but you can change that in post when you're editing the photos. Really, you know, easy to edit them and do adjustments. So yeah, I'm very happy with the cameras. I think you would be very happy with them as well. That is my overview of the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. I really, really like the concept of a flip phone, a smartphone flip phone. And I think what they've done with the external screen to give you all the functionality, I wouldn't go so far as to say that they've given you sort of like, it's like having 2 phones. I think that's a bit much, but it's like having a phone and a half and being able to quickly pull out of your pocket and do things on the external screen without having to open it up completely for quite a few things, and then being able to, you know, open up the external screen and having that nice big screen. I think it's a really, really great idea, and I think the way they've done it, the implementation is pretty darn good. Am I getting one? No, because I'm an Apple fanboy. But if I was a long-time, you know, full-time Android user, I'd be very, very tempted to pick one of these up. In terms of pricing, it normally retails for $16.99. I'm filming this on the 13th of November. At the moment in Australia, it's on sale at a few retailers for $14.99. Hopefully I'll get the video out in time so you can get that price if you're interested. Yeah, I think if you are an Android user and you've been thinking of trying a flip phone, definitely give this flip phone a try. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it was useful. If you have found it useful or helpful, please like and subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one. Otherwise, in terms of specs, it's got 16 gigs of RAM, so it's it's got 12 gigs of RAM. Overall, I really like, there's sort of how thin it is. It's pretty darn thin. That is another advantage. I need to sneeze. Catch you on the next one. Safe and happy driving. Don't say that! That's your other channel. In terms of cameras, you got 2 50 megapixel Okay, let's just start again. How about that? Yeah, let's just start again. Oh, for heaven's sakes, you've got the spec sheet open right up in front of you, twit. Did I push record? I bloody well hope I pushed record.